It is usually incredibly noble to save animals. When kind people assist mischievous felines or destitute canines, the tale is usually captivating. However, things aren't always as they appear. See how these selfless heroes end up with a little more than they anticipated. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. A man pulls what he believes to be a dog out of the ice. This animal learned how hazardous it can get in the winter when it plunged into a frigid river in Estonia. This species was fortunate enough to receive a helpful hand, or six. In 2019, Arkivali, Robin Silame, and Rando Karstep, 3 Estonian construction workers, arrived at their place of employment prepared to begin a typical day of dam dredging. Only when they observed what appeared to be a dog stuck and swimming through the freezing waters of the Parnu River did things become a little more tricky. The 3 guys sprung into action, clearing away swiftly through the thin river ice until they could reach the icy dog. After pulling it out of the water, they warmed the animal in the car while it was covered in a towel. After securing the dog, the employees contacted an animal rescue organization, which advised them to transport the dog to a nearby city's veterinary facility. The animal slept well in the car, his head resting on Rando's lap while the men drove. The vet examined the unfortunate dog when they got to the clinic. However, they overlooked something important when taking care of the animal. The real species of the monster was unknown until a local hunter saw it. It transpired that the creature the 3 guys had saved was actually a 1-year-old male wolf rather than a dog. Equipped with this fresh knowledge, the veterinary team promptly attended to the dog and placed it in a cage in case its behavior changed once it regained its vigor. The juvenile wolf survived its near-death experience in less than a day, and following a brief phone call to the National Environmental Agency, it was outfitted with a GPS collar and allowed to return to its natural habitat. Hopefully, he'll steer clear of any freezing rivers this time. Even with the potentially hazardous confusion, these 3 men showed bravery by saving an animal in need. However, as the following tale demonstrates, they are not the only ones that have trouble with an animal rescue. It turns out that the dog that the man hit with his automobile was a coyote. In 2019, Eli Boroditsky was traveling to Manitoba for his night shift. A dog-like creature darted in front of his automobile while he was traveling on the highway at around 55 miles per hour, 88 kilometers per h. The concerned guy immediately pulled over to the side of the road to check on the dazed animal, believing he had struck a stray German Shepherd or Husky. Because it was a dog and there may be wild creatures around, Eli stated, "I was hesitant to leave it lying there because I thought it might get hurt." He had no idea that he was genuinely in the presence of a wild animal. He took up the dog and put it in the back of his car after petting it a few times to help it relax. Eli didn't realize it was a wild coyote and not a dog he had struck until one of his co-workers noticed the animal in the back of his car. It's easy to understand how he may have confused the 2 creatures, because they certainly have a similar appearance. Eli held the animal in a safe location until the next day, when a wildlife conservation officer could take it to the Wildlife Haven Rehabilitation Center. After examining the now identified coyote, animal rescuers at the facility found that it was in fair health, aside from a minor scratches on its body from being struck by the automobile. The coyote was returned to the wild following a few weeks of recovery time spent in the rehab facility. After its adventure, maybe it gained some insight from the highway code. However, Eli is not the only one who confuses dogs and coyotes. The man after him was likewise a little perplexed by the 2 creatures. A coyote puppy is discovered by a policeman. If you thought it was difficult to distinguish a mature coyote from a dog, try telling a dog puppy from a coyote puppy without training. It's nearly impossible. To begin with, they're both really adorable. Fortunately, a kind stranger found the missing puppy and helped him. About 5 miles, 8 kilometers, north of Boston, in the city of Revere, Massachusetts, State Trooper Carlo Mastrometti was on duty one evening when he got a report regarding an injured animal on the side of the road. Being an animal lover, Carlo answered the phone right away. The trooper observed the tiny animal on a busy parkway when he got to the scene, but what he saw startled him. Rather than a dog, he spotted a scared little coyote pup by itself. The mother was nowhere to be seen. Recognizing that a typical animal shelter would not be able to take the sad dog, the trooper attempted to reach out to other organizations to see if they could find a home for it. Unfortunately, as it was becoming late, none of the animal rehabilitation centers in the area were open. Carlo eventually gave Ocean View Kennels a call and described his predicament. Lisa Cutting, the kennel owner, arrived to greet the trooper and assisted him in securely loading the newborn coyote into a box, but the issue persisted. Until daylight, what would the guy do with a coyote puppy? With nowhere else to go, Carlo brought the animal home, where he and his girlfriend made sure it was fed and kept warm all night. The puppy was taken to Tufts Wildlife Clinic in Grafton the next day, where authorities claimed he was checked out and found to be in good health. The puppy was sent to a wildlife expert in the Berkshires once his health cleared up, where he would mature and eventually be reintroduced into the wild. The young coyote that had been lost has since grown into an adult and left the rehabilitation facility to begin a new life in the wild. Trooper Carlo is certain that he may never have another situation similar to that one. Therefore, even if the animal is no longer with us, he has not been forgotten. A puppy that is rescued by workers turns out to be a fox cub. But as these builders found out for themselves, people don't mistake coyotes for dogs alone. In 2020, while laboring on a building site in London, UK's Canary Wharf, builders discovered an odd discovery. A few employees came into a newborn animal that was stuck in a tiny hole. It was hard to tell exactly what sort of animal it was, since it was covered in plastic and covered in dirt. The good-hearted men pulled the animal out of the hole, deciding it was a puppy, and decided to take it to the South Essex Wildlife Hospital for treatment. The sooner the animal was examined, the better, as they had no idea how long it had been stuck in the hole. After arriving at the wildlife hospital, the young animal was turned over to the veterinary team for a checkup, but not before it was washed. The workers thoroughly cleaned the animal, removing all of the filth and muck that had coated it. But once it was gone, the employees were left in possession of something that wasn't even somewhat like a dog. As it happened, the creature was in fact a young fox. He must have used a lot of mud to effectively conceal his identity, with its mother nowhere to be found. The lone fox cub left the veterinarians with little alternative but to care for it until it was old enough to go on its own. But the story of this small cub may have turned out quite differently, if not for those inquisitive professionals. Fortunately, the fox has matured into a stunning creature and has been allowed to return to his rightful place in the wild. You would think it wouldn't happen often to mistake a fox for a dog, but you would be incorrect. Are you curious as to why? Continue to observe. To read the following tale, click on Woman Finds Out the Dog She Purchased is Actually a Fox in 2018. A lady purchased a pet dog for herself from a pet store for $190, or 164 euros, but it came out that what she had mistakenly believed to be a Japanese Spitz was something very different. The lovely white puppy was purchased by Miss Wang, a Chinese resident, who thought it would make an excellent companion. She nursed the puppy for months, but as it grew older, the woman began to discover oddities in her new animal companion. The animal never barked, and at 3 months of age, it began to object to dog food. And it wasn't only the strange way the animal behaved. Miss Wang also noted that by the time the dog was 3 months old, its face had become pointed, its tail had grown longer than a typical dog's, and its fur had grown thicker. What was even more peculiar, according to her, was that all the other dogs would be afraid of the woman's said dog instead of wanting to play when they would go for walks in the park. After a while, Miss Wang concluded that something had to be amiss, so she brought her pet to the Taiyuan Zoo in the hopes that animal epidemic prevention specialist Sun Li could offer some guidance. The woman was somewhat aback when he revealed to her that her Japanese Spitz was actually a domesticated fox. Even though it was just 12 inches, 30 centimeters long at the time, more growth was anticipated. With the knowledge of the reality, Miss Wang decided she could not take on the care of such an exotic pet, so she turned it over to the zoo. They may provide it with a better nutrition and a more comfortable living space. The fox was admitted as the newest animal to the zoo after spending a month in quarantine. Miss Wang can still see the snow-white fox whenever she starts to miss it, even if she may not have her companion anymore. I hope you enjoyed these stories, and I'll see you next time for more inspiring tales. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.